Right, stable chat. Today I am in overcast terrain. Matty Craven,
Good
welcome.
day down here.
It is a good day, Matty. How are you?
Yeah, going well.
And
Thanks
we've
for
got
coming.
plenty going on behind. Soph's out there, back there directing traffic. We've got a busy day today, actually, here at Terrain. We've got 9 horses going to the races or trials tonight.
Yeah, 7 to trial. Exciting, a few of those on the comeback to the races. So, a couple from injury and a couple just from let up. So, yeah, looking forward to seeing how they come back to the track. And we won't be asking too much of them tonight, but they can just go around and have a day out. And as long as it's positive trials, we'll be very happy.
Rightio. These are brought to you by Kelly Partners. Got the hat on. Paul Dobson, Dylan Barry. They do a great job. Go to kellypartners.com.au for all your COVID needs. There's a lot of people, Matty, in country Victoria, we're probably not as the same as in Melbourne. A lot of people still out of work, can't do work and all the rest. So if you have troubles with your business or anything, get in touch with the guys and they will help you out. Not a worry in the world. Paul Dobson, he's a great trotting man. He's a mate of a lot of the guys on Twitter as well, and they create a lot of banter. Harness racing is a great sport. It can be a hard sport though from time to time, can't it?
Yeah, and I must say, Paul's been there for me when I've just needed a little bit of advice. He didn't need to do it, but he just did it off his own bat, just pointed me in the right direction. And even through these times, if anyone's not 100% sure of their finances or where they should be going, I couldn't highly recommend, getting in touch with someone like Paul who understands our game. And, it's something that we've done recently is changed accountants, and it's been a very positive thing for us. And if anyone out there is not too sure as to where or what direction they're heading in, don't be frightened to reach out is the biggest thing that I could say to anyone. It's probably guilty of not doing it earlier, that's for sure.
It's big words, and Dobbo will be very, very happy with that, mate. He likes the rap, so you did very good. You're looking after all your sponsors. You've got Foresight, you've got High Gain on the other side, you've got yourself up there. It's part of badging, it's part of the way you've got to sell the industry. And we do have to sell it. You've got me here to Terrain tonight to try and promote your stable, so I thought, well, I'll give you the double whammy with the stable chat. But it's one of the battles, a little bit of getting owners, and with COVID, with the lockdowns and that, it's been one of the big battles, hasn't it? It's trying to get owners to the races to be able to witness and enjoy the great success that we can have.
Yeah, and I think the best part, with owners is, they need to come on the journey with you, and COVID's been very hard on that, and a big credit to yourself who's actually done something different and got out to a lot of stables and a lot of meetings and bringing that content to the people that are stuck at home. And one of the reasons why I touched base and reached out was we've got horses going to Terrain tonight, 7 to trial, 2 to the races, and they've got a lot of owners behind them, and no one can get to the track tonight, and I just thought it was a good opportunity to bring you down and just to showcase Terrain as the meeting and help everyone involved, but also to get that little bit extra content out to the owners that are all at home and bussing to get to the races.
This won't go out until after Terrain. People want to get in touch with you though, go to mattycravenracing.com. Is it that simple?
Yeah, the website's and it's Matty, M-A-T-T-I-E, just to be difficult, cravenracing.com.au.
I'll put a banner up of that across the bottom, but that's fine.
You can reach us there or through the socials, Matthew Craven Racing or Matty Craven Racing on Facebook and Twitter, Instagram. We're very active in that regard. We've had a lot of people follow what we do and get a lot of enjoyment out of that, and it's a big part of our business.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, stable chats. Highlight the stables, highlight what people have got. You've got a lot going on here, and you've still got some building going on, and I haven't actually showcased that building, but you're still building more stables and boxes. It's ever growing. One of the juggles though is spending money, making money, training horses. It can get a bit hard, but you are ever evolving, and it's incredible. Like these stalls here behind, and I've actually got to walk past and I'll show them, but they must make it so good for you, especially this time of year. Today's okay, but when it's wintry and cold and wet, these must really make it easy for you.
Yeah, from the original when there was nothing here, it's just bare paddocks to what is here now. It's been a big journey and a lot of investment, and a lot of the time you're well and truly behind chasing, to make sure everything's paid, and we'll have a long time to go before we can get any of it paid off. But the main thing I wanted was a good base, and the original part was the shed, what you see, and we've sort of designed off some of the things that I'd seen on my travels, and I've seen how well Mark Purden's place in New Zealand worked, and it was sort of, you know, it would have been ideal to replicate that, but you know, this was sort of probably based off a lot of what he had there.
You've got a lot of stuff. You've got heaters. You've got a horse standing over there under the heaters, and I actually got some video footage of him there before. Good lot of washers, 3 washers. Well, we've got about 10 tie-up stalls here. You've got your crush. This is dead set the heart, isn't it? This is where everything happens, this one shed here. And so it's integral to have it nice, clean, tidy and workable.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to keep it clean and tidy, and there's always...
It's going all right, don't you worry about that.
Plenty of stuff sitting around, unfortunately, but yeah, it works quite good. Sometimes through the winter to get horses dry, it's quite difficult here, and that's just another thing that will continue to grow. And we've got a shed with 10 new boxes in it that will hopefully get finished off soon to utilise even just with tying horses up through the winter and helping them dry out before they go out in the paddock. And yeah, there's plenty more things, you know, on the radar that we'd like to do, but that all depends on how well we're going.
Paddocks, you talked there about paddocks and all this. You seem to have them all doubled up. You like your horses in 2s by the looks, am I right, or is it?
Yeah, that's how, especially the mares.
Yep.
With a mate, I always find they do better, and I find they walk in the paddocks. And one thing that when we set up, we wanted sort of reasonable sized paddocks, so when they did go out, you know, they were able to walk around, and we know it gets quite wet here. So although the paddocks get, you know, quite bogged in winter, if they're able to walk and find a good spot, they seem to dry. If you find they go in a small yard, and that, I always found that they never dried out. So yeah, and if I find that, you know, the paddocks get too much grass in them, I'll even throw another horse or 2 in it just to eat the grass down, and just, you know, it'll probably turn a bit more to mud, but it just takes that factor of the grass out of that, out of the equation.
Everyone has different ideas with that, and I must say it was one of the things I noticed. So it was not just how much grass, but how green it was. Like coming from Bendigo, there's no grass, and what there is dry. Like, and it sounds silly this time of year, but there's just nothing in it. Like it's not even growing at the minute. Whereas yours is quite a big green, lush green, and that's one of the things I was thinking when I was filming the paddocks. I was like, how do you get them skinny? But obviously, you believe the 2 walking. Plus, if they get too fat, you put a couple more in with them and keep them moving. And
you know, I find if they get close to racing, you know, sometimes they have to move if they've got too much grass in their paddock. But I always find, you know, if I think there is too much grass, that I'll put another horse in there and they just chew it out, and yeah, it makes the paddock a bit messy, but just helps alleviate that sort of unknown that you're not sure what they're eating as far as grass goes. But it's always sort of handy that they've got something to nibble on, and yeah, they've always got hay. It's one of the big things that I brought back from Sweden, was that they had to have hay, and we don't feed any chaff. Tiny bit of lucerne just to mix a bit of powder through, you know, just with vitamins and stuff. But yeah, the big thing is having something for them to chew on all the time, and yeah, it's sort of what we like to do.
So it's really interesting because I did one with Dave Miles, and he created this big stir because he only feeds his horses once a day, and everyone's like, well, how does he do it? You know, I come here and I look at the green grass, I'm like, how do you get them fit, you know, with so much green grass? But I would imagine that the horses probably realise that the green grass is there, like our horses would want to just gorge it because they're not used to it and all the rest. But I find it very interesting how different people train, and the reality is, if I trained like you, it wouldn't work because my climate is so different to yours. Like you said to me about having long johns on today. It's actually balmy here today compared to Bendigo, because Bendigo can be revoltingly cold. But that's one of the juggles, and you've worked out what works for you guys, you know, and you've got uncles and aunts and everyone around the place as well. So you've got plenty of people you can bounce those ideas off. But it's what actually works for you guys here.
Yeah, probably ideally you'd love a box for every horse, but not every horse, in saying that, is suited to being in the box as well. But we find the ones we do box, you know, enjoy coming in, but they always get out every day.
Yep.
And they generally find themselves out in the paddock of a weekend. And through the really wet times, you know, that's the main time that we want them in, just to help with their feet. If I didn't really have that issue, I wouldn't worry about having boxes. You know, I trained out of paddocks for forever and a day, and the only disadvantage to that is the foot abscesses that we get here.
Yep.
Otherwise, you know, it doesn't seem to matter how muddy or dirty they get. As long as they're fed enough and got something to eat all the time, and you know, proper rug on them without getting wet through, they don't seem to mind being out in the paddock. And there's even been times when we've trained them out of the paddock with no rugs for whatever reason, and they've survived pretty well. So we're lucky that, you know, even though it gets wet and quite windy here, the temperatures are you know, around 10 and 12 through the winter, and you know, we don't get that frosty mornings as, you know, you'll get the odd one, but you know, as a rule, we don't get those low temperatures that you get inland. Which is, you know, it's if it didn't have the wind, you know, this would be one of the best places in the world to live.
It's one of the funny things, the Canadians whose weather is worse than ours, quite often can't believe we put blankets on them or rugs on them. Like, they don't call them rugs, but yeah, they're like, you've got blankets. They don't do these, and they get revoltingly cold. So it is what you get used to. Tracks, Matty, and I start on your smaller, your round track, your conventional track. It doesn't look overly big, about half mile. Would that be right?
Yeah, it's about 8:20 or something like that, and yeah, we do a lot of our sort of jog work and a little bit of galloping on that. Since we've had, you know, the straight track in use, hobbling them on the round track, you know, is not as such a big thing anymore. But we sort of do a lot of strong work on there as well, just sort of cantering on their off days and stuff like that.
Your track, I suppose, years ago was documented that it was soft and had issues with it. It looks sensational now. Like, you've done a lot of work on it, and it looks like it's consistent because it's wet here today and the likes, but it looks consistent, and you must be wrapped with how it's eventually got there.
Yeah, you know, the first year or the first real wet winter, you know, the top corner went to shit really, and you know, since then we've been able to, you know, with the help of family and the gravel pits, you know, top it up with dust and dust from the quarries, and it's as good as can be now. And I mean, we don't really miss a day's work unless we've missed the weather update and ripped the track, you know, and which is, you know, it happens from time to time, and we like to have the track ripped up, and you just got to be mindful of the weather that's coming. If you know there's rain coming, that you've got to sometimes roll it in or seal it off before that comes, and if that's done, it's no worries at all. And we find sometimes the consistent drizzly rain is probably the worst, because you consistently seal on the track and it gets a bit hard. But if we get strong rain, it seems to wash the fine out of it, and then the next day it'll be perfect.
David Aiken, the reason I was laughing at David Aiken, I got there the other day and his gurney and all his sulkies off because he did the same thing. Didn't watch a weather report, ripped it up, and it poured, and they were covered in mud from everywhere. So that was it. Rightio, straight tracks. One, how long is it? Because you're gone for a long time. I've been waiting, and there'll be footage playing over the top of us right now. But I was waiting for you for a long time to come back. What is it? Nearly a 1,000?
Well, it's 1,000 metres fence to fence, and yeah, we clock. I'm not exactly sure. Like, we've just sort of clocked on feel what was working for us. And the one thing, early days, I didn't want to measure it, so I wasn't racing the clock. And we sort of got a point now where we clock, but it's about 8:40 or something that we'll clock, and eventually I'll get it measured up properly. But you know,
I actually love that. So you've gone and measured out a distance and said, right, well, this is what we're going to clock by, and then we're going to gauge it off that, and you've worked out your training. So it's not actually a dead set distance.
Well, it was more going on feel and letting the horses sort of help us work it out. And you know, we know it's about 8:40, 8:50 or something like that, but if they can run 6 heats in about 1:10, we know they're right to go to the races. And it's more about how they do it than how fast they go.
Oh, that's cool, actually. And then the little horse, you're going backwards and forwards, and I've got side footage, but you also went and wore the helmet cam for me. Hopefully, it all came up good and the likes, and you talked your way through it. I heard you talking and showing the people through. So that may have gone up as a separate video, and it also might be playing as an overlay here, and I'll put the audio to it on the separate video so people can actually appreciate it. But it is very different working on straight tracks, isn't it? You can cook them and you can underwork them too. People can get caught out both ways.
Yeah, look, I mean, we're far from, you know, being able to work it out, I'm sure. We sort of know what works at the moment and pretty confident sort of the performance we'll get to a degree, but there's horses that'll trick you. But I never forget, you know, I ask a lot of people, that, you know, even Barry Purdon asked Mark, his brother, you know, how to train on his straight track, and Mark said, you got to work it out for yourself. And he thought he was, you know, having a lend of him, but, you know, he went on to explain that, you know, that he thought he was right and that he had to do that. And, sort of some of the things that I've sort of learned along the way and seen, through Sweden and France, and the time at Marks, sort of all sort of working together as to what we do now. And I'm sure through time we'll continue to, refine what we do and find different ways to use it as well.
You've also got a bush track up further, like so you can jog through the bush as well, which has got to be good mentally for the horses.
Well, it's good for the horses and for you. Unfortunately, it's not always when it gets wet, able to be utilised fully. But
it's still there. It's still there as an option.
Still there, and even and sometimes, when it is wet, you get a mad puller or something just needs something different, taken around there quietly, and they've actually got to, pull up for the wet spots and things like that. It really makes them think about what they're doing rather than just charging along. And we're so lucky to have the bush where we do a lot of riding through the bush with the girls, just on their backs and making them sort of hunt through the bush and pick their legs up, because we've had a lot of luck with old trotters, that have sort of wasted away over their backs and probably don't utilise their muscles properly, and to try and retrain and make them pick up their legs. Hunting them through the bush seems to be really, really good for them, and making them step over logs and around stumps or whatever that's there. And for their mindset, it's just completely changes them, some of them, and those horses that are just not happy with life can sort of really turn around.
You also go to the beach. You've got one other asset here, but it's just when you're saying about riding them and all the rest, and that's got to be key. I mean, you've got a big truck, you've got plenty of girls here that like riding horses too by the looks, but to take horses to the beach and change it up for them, I mean, Pink Glass is behind us getting ready, but at some places should be a horse that would just work at tracks, whereas you rattled off about 3 different places plus a beach. It is a really good place to train, isn't it?
Oh, we're extremely lucky. I mean, the downside to where we are is that a lot of the places it's a trip, but the beach, we'd love to utilise that more, but the time that it takes, it probably doesn't allow us to use it as much as we like. But we make time for the better horses or the horses that need it, and especially through the summertime and the good weather, we just treat it as just as a day out basically. And you'll find that we might be finished the horses, or could be finished them by lunchtime, and we'll just grab a truckload of horses and throw a saddle on them and take them to the beach because it's hot and we want to take them and walk them in the water and have a break from the farm ourselves. So I mean, it's great when we're able to do that, just for everyone involved, just as a pleasure ride really, but it also just freshens the horses and their mindset, and they come home thinking that they're pretty special sometimes, running around, and you see them the next day, they're just, full of themselves.
You say we. Soph just was picking up some poo behind us and the shovel, and it's a wonder I didn't get hit over the head because we haven't mentioned it before. But Soph is an integral part of the team. I mean, she's your partner for a start, but it is a team effort here, isn't it? Like, I said part of the team, not part of the staff, miss.
No, everyone, it's a great team effort, but Sophie's, she's either in front of me or alongside me in everything that we do. And she's brought, a lot of different things to the table, for what I do, and a different mindset. Even with using the straight track, she's probably braver at changing things up than what I've been. Although, some of the ideas may have been mine, she's taken them to another level. And she, as far as the horses goes, we're together in everything that we do. So yeah, it's well and truly a team effort, and the girls that are here every day, working their asses off, mum and dad.
I was going to say that family as well, because there's so much family around here. I think Terang is just known for the name, Cravens or Lees or both, and it's just part and parcel. So it's another key component of where you are, isn't it?
Yeah, we're so lucky to have such a great family behind us, and they're always there to help. I've got 3 brothers that I call on all the time. You may know Glenn, in the harness industry, but there's 2 others, Simon and Daniel, and they're part of the family operation as well, and they're more machinery operators, and into the horses. But
I know there'll be a lot of people watching this. They won't realise, like, yeah, they think, oh, you guys train a lot of horses, but I do know a lot what goes on behind the scenes. And
well, my business, or Sophie and I, you know, we operate on our own as such. But the family, you know,
it's huge,
operate a big dairy farm and gravel pits as well, and you know that funds or helps fund their horses. You know, and breeding as well, and like they breed quite a few horses as well. Like, yeah, they make a huge investment in the industry every year, breeding horses, and you know that's where I've got my love from it, and you know I'm lucky to have Dad here for advice a lot of the time. You see him roar down the motorbike.
He said he wasn't roaring. He said he wasn't roaring.
Yeah, well, if you had the video on him, it would probably suggest otherwise. But you know, he's always here. He'll fly down and drive one, or you know, be here to give you some advice. Or
we just gave you a hand to swim one, like.
He's always there if you need him. You just got to ring him, and he's just an amazing that way. He'll drop everyone just to to help you if you need to. And I always try and help him milk when I can. Time doesn't always allow for that, but Simon and Daniel are always giving me a chop out, whether it's just to help with the tractor or a bit of gravel or something. So, you know, when I'm able to, I go and milk a few cows because I haven't forgotten how to do that.
I got to say a big thank you to your mum one night because Dad said, "Oh, you'll stay for tea." I said, "No, I haven't got time. I'm thinking I'll grab a bloody pie or something at the servo on the way home," but nah. Lamb chops and mashed potato and peas and corn. It was just sensational. And Mum wasn't even there. Mum, she left it on the plate. It was a couple of years ago, but I think that's a Craven hospitality. I think that's just part and parcel, isn't it?
Yeah, Mum's she's an angel. She has lunch and stuff for us every day, and she's not exactly a horse person, but she's 100% behind us and follows exactly what we do. And she's always there to help with anything really, and she's a big part of the team.
We could talk horses. You got heaps. There's talk you're going to Queensland very shortly. This might go up when you do go to Queensland or you don't go to Queensland. There is one, Pink Galahs. And the reason I say there is one is because I talk to a lot of people and I always say, oh, this horse is a really good horse, or this horse. But she is that next level. Like David Aiken said the other day, like until he got Lenny the Shark, he never realised what that next level was. To get a horse like Pink Galahs training from where you are here, do you actually ever pinch yourself that little bit?
Oh, look, she took us on an amazing journey, and yeah, whether she's that really, really special horse, as far as performance goes, what she did as a 3-year-old was, exceptional.
I think you'll find she is, because if you go back in history, in 10 years' time, and people say what she's won, they're going to go, wow. Then to actually watch and see she was only a 3-year-old filly at that time, that's the difference. Like she may not be a Grand Circuit superstar, but she is a superstar.
But her effort as a 3-year-old will probably never be replicated, and that was through COVID really, which made it those races combined in such a short period of time. What she is special is she's special in herself. She's just
she's just one of the mob. She's got the green. Yeah, she's got the red rug. I don't know. Yeah, she can actually. They can actually see her there. She's standing there. She's got the red neck rug.
Yeah, she's just special in herself, and she's everyone loves her. She's not your typical good horse. That stands out in the paddock or whatever. She's tiny, but.
We might have to give a chip to David Brickennose, because if they had good trotting races, you'd be able to take her to Queensland.
Well, she is planned to go.
Just for a holiday or to race?
Well, there's 2 races on the radar. One has 2 lead-up races, which is going to make it probably a little bit hard for her to compete probably 6 weeks in a row each Saturday, where she's in this week at Melton. Next week is the 4 and 5-year-old mares race, and then if we were to have a crack at the feature standing trot over the long distance, she would have to race
the following week
2 heats into a final, which is a $50,000 Group 1. So we're a little bit unsure as to whether we tackle that path. We'll just save her for the last week of the carnival for the mobile, which we know she's a lot more suited to the mobile than the stand.
Yeah. I've got to let you go, because you do have to go to the trials, and it's not far off because Soph's turning all the lights off, so we mustn't be far off going. But I must say thank you. And I will say to all your owners, I'm definitely not downplaying any of those horses, but I just think when you stop and think about Pink Galahs, and it will stand the test of time. In 10 years' time, people are going to go back and they're still going to look at it and they're going to go, wow, because it's a brilliant performance. I appreciate your hospitality. This has been brought to you by Kelly Partners. Must remember Paul Dobson and Dylan Barry, and go to kellypartners.com.au to view it. There is a phone number which will be on that as well. Can't remember the phone number. I used to be able to remember phone numbers off by heart.
You got too much going on.
But as I said, anyone wants to get in touch with Matty Craven, they'll be both across the bottom, but don't put the Y, put the IE, Matty Craven Racing. .com, and also all
.au, I think.
On the AU, and also all the socials. So make sure you go to your Facebook and get in touch with him. And if you see him, catch up with him, go and talk to him. He's actually not a bad bloke to talk to. Can talk a little bit long, so he's a worry for me because I don't mind a chat either.
Well, and the one thing that we want to stress to people is, although COVID hasn't allowed a lot, we really encourage our owners to come to the stables, and for me, I have the love of the horse, so I really get a kick out of owners coming to the stable and enjoying their horses and just poking around and seeing what their horse is doing. So whether you're an owner of the stable or you just love to come and have a look around and maybe one day be involved, or you want to bring the kids out to see a horse, we always welcome people to come out here and enjoy what we get to do every day.
Right, mate. I better let you go. Soph will give us both a kick in the backside otherwise. So,
yeah.
Thank you. This has been Stable Chat with Matty Craven. Thank you very much, mate, for your time.
Thank you.